Hey guys, my name's David, and today I'm going to give a walkthrough of my Data CLI Gem project. In this project, I wanted to create a Data CLI Gem that would give a list of New Jersey fishing locations and be able to give a fishing report of each location. So just before I even start, I think the first thing that I needed to do that I didn't know was to create the file structure. So like when you start a project, up until now we were actually required to just fill in the code, and they set up all the requirements for us and the environment for us, but we had to do that. So I'm not actually going to type it in, but just gonna walk us through that. So before anything, we use Bundler, and Bundler is a program that basically sets up the entire file structure for us. Like this, before you start a project, this NJ fishing report doesn't even exist. So by typing in, I think it's bundle gem. Wait, let me see this. Sorry, 1 second. I have my own little blog here. I don't remember everything off the top of my head. Yeah. So if you don't have Bundler, you type in gem install Bundler, and that installs the program that will set up your file structure. So make sure you go ahead and do that. But once Bundler is installed, I typed in bundle gem nj underscore fishing report. So yeah, that's how I started. So bundle gem nj fishing report. I did that. I typed that in. I hit enter, and it basically set up this general structure here, like the git file, git folder, the bin folder, an empty lib folder with the nj fishing report folder inside of it, the spec. It's set up the readme file. It's set up like almost everything. So that's really convenient. So I started with that, and then after I also wasn't familiar with GitHub, so I went to github.com, went to my account right here, went to my profile, and then clicked here, did new repository, typed in NJ fishing report like that. As you can see, I did that, and then I clicked create repository, and then what I did was after that to initialize, and then I did git add like that, and I think I did git commit -m, and then I did first commit, entered that, and git push origin master. It's up to date right now. So that what that does, so when you create the file structure using Bundler, it's just on your computer. Now I'm not sure if you could do it another way in terms of getting the file that's on your computer onto GitHub. I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure there's a way that we can do it straight through our terminal, but what I did was create a repository on github.com, and then through my terminal, I basically synchronized the NJ fishing report with the GitHub repository. So that's kind of the basic setup in terms of file structure and saving on all that stuff. And after that, this next obstacle I ran into was actually setting up some of the code in here to set up the environment to run my code. So the first thing that happens was this they create this bin file, NJ fishing report for you, and the first thing I had to do was tell this file to read this file through the Ruby language, and the way you do that, it's right here. It's this user bin environment Ruby, and that tells this file, listen, I want Ruby to interpret whatever code is in here. And after that, we had to do require our environment file. This was a little tricky. I didn't understand this at first, but in order for code to run, it needs to know what, in order for this gem to run, the gem needs to know what files is it actually going to run the code of. So in this binary file right here, this is what's going on with this file is that through this require relative, it's going to run this file right here, which is one level up, the lib folder njfishingreport.rb. So what that means is from this file, because it's require relative, it's going to go up one level, which would be into the general directory, and it's going to go into the lib folder, and then it's going to run njfishingreport.rb. So this file is saying whenever I run bin/njfishingreport, it's going to run this file here. And as you can see, njfishingreport is an environment file. It tells this gem, these are all the files I want you to read through when I run this document right here. So a little, I guess a little more on that. One thing that, one obstacle that I ran through was understanding the difference between require and require relative. Require uses an absolute path, require relative uses a relative path. And so what does it mean by path? Path is the location of the specific file that we want to access. So path is a specific location that we want of the file that we want to access. So relative, when we use require relative, it basically looks for a path relative to the file from which it's being called. So if I use require relative inside lib, then it's going to look for a path relative to this very file from that it's being called. So require relative in njfishingreport in the lib folder right here will be different from requiring relative from inside here. And what I mean by that is this lib njfishingreport version could definitely mean something different from relative to this file as opposed to this file. So that's something that I had to navigate. One of the things I had to navigate was dot // which means an absolute path, because this refers to the top directory. It automatically brings up to the top directory, so that's absolute. No matter where you are in whatever folder, if we call this in the path, it goes to the top directory no matter what. When we're using require relative, // means one level up, so it goes up one folder level, one directory level, which is the same thing, right? So from this file, if we go up one level, it goes straight up, actually in this case, into the top level directory. So from going up one level, we have access to the bin folder, the lib folder, the spec, and all of these different files over here. So Ruby gems, though, so any environment files within the gem to require any files within the gem, we use require relative. To require any gems, any Ruby gems inside of our gem, we use an absolute path by using require. As you can see, that's what's being done here. Because I need to use the pry-gem, the no-kogiri, and the open-URI for scraping and debugging. So that's kind of like, once it took me a while to kind of get that set up, but I eventually got it done. And once that was set up, what I did was I set up a general plan of what I wanted to do. Initially, I looked at our video walkthrough and made it, but I think the most important part of this is brainstorming and writing out how our gem is actually going to work. So for me, I did a command line interface for njfishingreport, and I said, okay, this is actually not the updated version, but let me see this. So what I actually had was greet user. Where is it? Here it is. Oh no, that's not it. Ah, here it is. So it's probably better to do this. Yeah, this is what I had planned for my gem. I said it's going to greet the user with a message. It's going to present user with a menu and asks for user input to choose either a list from the menu or exit. If the user presses list, then it's presented with the list and an option to choose an item from the list. If they input exit, give a farewell message and exit program. So obviously, the list will be a list of fishing locations for me, and if they choose an item from the list, it'll be a report for that fishing location. Now, one thing I didn't know at first was list view and detail view. So list view references the top level directory, which top level information, which would be all the fishing locations, and the detailed view was the report, or the one going one level down from the list item. So if there's a list of fishing locations, the detailed view would be a detailed look at one of those fishing locations, the ability for a program to do that. So I set this up, decided what I was going to do, and then I started with my scraper method. I started with my methods here. And the methods started with my class methods. And that goes inside the lib NJ fishing report for all the classes go in here. So the CLI here creates the CLI NJ fishing report CLI.call, which is called in this binary. This is the only method that's going to be called in this binary. That is going to call this method over here. And this CLI is basically how I'm going to greet my method, how I'm going to call the different scraper methods that I'm actually going to create. It's going to be how I get user input and determine what I do with the user input. And all of it's going to go through the call method, but all the other specific methods that are going to be used in the call method are created here in the CLI Ruby document here. So I started with my scraper method. The base path is the URL for the NJ fishing locations. Did that. I scraped that. Used Nokogiri to be able to get the HTML, and use OpenURI to be able to turn that Noko HTML into data that I can use and iterate through. In this case, initially I scraped the fishing location and report in one method. That's actually an easier way, but I thought that violated the rule of singular responsibility that says each class should be responsible for only one thing, but I thought that applied to methods. So initially I had location and report scraped through one method, which is better, but I spent a ton of time separating them because I thought that's having two separate methods. I thought that having one method do two things was not correct, but that only applies to a general class and not a class method. But for our purposes, I separated it, a fishing location. So using Nokogiri, get the HTML, use OpenURI to turn that HTML into information I can use. I went into Google, inspected the website, and found the CSS selector TD class reports text A was the file that I wanted to use, and basically I noticed that not all the just pull this up here. This is my base path here. Let's pull this up. This is my base path here, and I noticed that one of the issues that I ran into was this last week's report is not something I wanted, so I had to be able to distinguish all the other fishing locations from that last week's report. So basically, I used the selector, kind of got into this little area over here, opened it up. You see, and these are all the different locations, and I noticed that last week's report, where is this? actually I thought so what I did was I iterated through um, each of the sections that are under this CSS selector, and I thought that this was necessary here. I actually don't think I'm going to need that, but I'm going to leave it in here for now. And I basically isolated all the locations and said here, iterate through the potential location, and if I thought that the last week's report did not have this as a part of the hyperlink reference, but I guess it does. I guess all of them do, so that's kind of pointless. But it's a section right here, the potential location text is not equal to last week's report, which basically isolates this and says, no, it basically excludes last week's report, which is what I wanted to do. And after I did that, I pushed this potential location into an empty array of phishing locations, iterated through each of the phishing locations, set the phishing location to the text. Location dot text. What's going on here? Yeah, and basically that would go through like right here. The first thing would be Atlantic Highlands, and then it would set location as Atlantic Highlands. Phishing location equals Atlantic Highlands. Atlantic Highlands equals a new instance of the phishing location class, with the name of it being Atlantic Highlands. It would also set the URL of this phishing location as well. And all of these obviously is directly connected to each of the classes that I made. Right, the NJ phishing class location has a name, receives a name upon being initialization, sets that name, and adds itself to a class constant. Adds itself to the class constant. Each phishing location will have a phishing report, and each phishing location has a URL. You see right here that URL is key, which allows me right here this phishing location to even be set, for this class method to be set. So I did that for the phishing location, and then before, what I actually did was I actually created a phishing report straight from this URL. I put this URL into, I set up my class method for phishing report to actually create a new instance of the class phishing report by using the URL directly. That's what I did when I created just both of them through one method, but I decided not to do that because I thought that it would violate the rule of singular responsibility. So I created also scraper for phishing report, and this actually takes a phishing location. So actually what this means is that in my program, I need to scrape phishing location first because my phishing report depends on my phishing locations, on the constants of all the instances of the phishing location. So iterate through that, do the same thing, no Kogiri, open URI, and I went through each of them, and I'd have to take a look at this. So the class selector for each of the phishing locations, right here. This is actually one level deep. So this would actually go through each of these individually. So at this point right here, doc.css td reports text is actually going through, where is this phishing location? Location. Yep, it's going through each instance of the phishing location class, and yeah, so this is each location of the instance of the phishing location class, and for each iteration, it's looking up the location.url. So boom, it's going in here like that. Boom. Hold on. I'm gonna close this. Is my internet down? No! My phishing report. Oh, that's not good. That's not good for learning purposes. Okay, well, just gonna. This goes one level deep. Looks into that. Now, I noticed that there were a couple things, even within the going one level deep, that had the CSS select TD reports.txt, so I had to figure out a way, and I figured out how to single out just the phishing report, because there were different elements in the in even this TD class reports text that had that, but mine had was aligned left, so that isolated just the phishing report for that instance of phishing location and location.url. Basically, instance of phishing report equals nj phishing report dot new, and it basically got the text, got that specific report, set it equal to the variable instance of phishing report, which instance of phishing report was a new instance of the phishing report class that I created, and I put it in a variable in order that I can make a phishing location belong to a phishing report and a phishing report to have a phishing location. That's why I set it to a variable. And right here, one of the things that I ran into was I could set, I could have an instance of a phishing report have a phishing location just as a string, but I realized, actually, I need to make it belong to, I need to make a phishing report have a phishing location, an instance of a phishing location, which is taking advantage of object-oriented Ruby, right? And so that's why I did that. So here, nj phishing report phishing location that all, it looks for a specific instance of that specific location, phishing location dot name that we're in. So we find out that, in here we're going down into the location. We're going through each instance of a phishing location. So by calling here the location name, I can detect or find by doing location name, I can find the attribute name of a phishing location instance, and through that name attribute of the instance, I can find out the instance that it's actually in, and then I basically what did I do here? Yeah, basically, do I have two of the same thing? Wait, instance of. Oh wait, no. What I did was instance of phishing report. Ah, okay, yeah. So right here. Sorry, I was wondering where the phishing location was actually where I set the phishing reports phishing location, and it's done right here by the class method dot phishing location. As you can see, it's actually called here. I mean, the method is written there like that. Yeah. So I did that. Go back into scraper. Scraper here, and then instance of a phishing location. Oh yeah, that makes sense. This instance of a phishing location. The order was kind of like, this should be kind of come before that, but instance of phishing location dot phishing report. What am I doing there? Instance of phishing report. There it is. It sets a phishing report as an instance. it gives that phishing instance of the phishing report an instance of a phishing location, and then it takes this takes an instance of a phishing location. Oh, it creates a new variable. I'm not sure why I did that. I'll have to look at that. I think I don't think I need this. Instance of phishing location is given a phishing instance of a phishing report, which is up here. Okay, that makes sense. I don't know what this is for. Instance of phishing. Ah, okay. This is what I'm doing. This method here will take the specific instance of the phishing location that we're iterating through. Yeah, that's what it does. It pulls out the specific instance of the phishing location, which allows me to assign an instance of the phishing location, an instance of the phishing report. That makes sense. Got it. So that's kind of what's going on with my code here. I did a lot of like editing and just kind of going through this over and over. One of the things was I actually made a phishing report belong to a URL too before, and I was like, that's kind of pointless. As long as a phishing location has it, I want my code to be logical. I want it to get to the point. So here it is, and my phishing location has a name and has a phishing report and has a URL. Now, the URL isn't an instance. It doesn't have to be, but a phishing report is an instance of the phishing report class. So a phishing report has a report. A phishing report has a phishing location, instance of a phishing location. So once I finished that and I was happy with that, after creating each of these, of course you have to require them like that. I went on with my CLI here. Created a greeting right there. I like the way it looks like that. Created a phishing location, or ran my scraper, and right here, where's my ran my two scrapers. Location comes first, as I mentioned before. Run program interface right here. So run program interface is kind of like what will run the program, and I decided to go down this way with like a main menu. And so I looped it. I looped this message over here. Asks user for input. If they input exit, it'll say goodbye, and it'll break the loop. If they put list, it's going to list phishing locations and phishing reports. So list phishing locations. I use each with index to right here. Yeah, each with index, iterate over the phishing location instances. Put out a number and the location name. And then after it puts in, what is that? Why did it? And it asks to go one level deep. So after it lists the locations, it runs phishing report. Please input a number or enter exit to return to the main menu. Right here, it asks user for input. Yeah, and so basically this logic here, this loop, if they type exit, it'll break, go back to the main menu. Else if this is a valid number, if if the input is lower than 0, or if it's greater than the length of phishing location, because this always changes according to the website. If it doesn't follow that, then what is it? What is it? Yeah, oh yeah, if it doesn't follow that those conditions, you can see that's not a valid entry to put number between 1 and the phishing location, the length of the phishing location, or type exit, and then it asks for input again. But if input, everything else. So wait. This is good. Oh man, this is interesting. I wonder what happens if I type wait, what if I type like letters? Oh yeah, right. This covers letters because if they type a string, the value is equal to 0. Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I was like, if I type random words, is it what's gonna happen there? And that's covered in here. It's gonna say it's not a valid entry. Let's just look at that right here. Yeah, right. So that works. Yeah, but if they type between one and the length of the fishing location, so it's like 2 or whatever. There it is. Right there, like that. Perfect. Fishing report. You know, I'm gonna make this shorter. Okay, and I basically if they type in a number, it's gonna pull that specific number. I made it like nice and I try to make it user friendly and look good. I put sleep after it because I feel like if it just comes out instantly, it's just not as nice. Just personal preference, like list, like 1, 2, 3, boom, boom. Yeah, there it is. I felt like that's a lot better. Because if I did nothing here, it just kind of like, if I did nothing here, it's just like not nice. Here, like, let's see. It's scraping. Okay. List 1. See, like it comes out. I don't like that. I think that right here, like a little bit of separation, really focuses someone's eye on the fishing report. Because people are starting to read it, and then it pulls out the menu so they know, there's something I can do. But it's like when it just pukes out everything all at once, it's like, like, did it work? That's kind of how I felt. So that's kind of what's going on, and it breaks after that. And because I set my run program interface on this loop, once it breaks, it goes straight back. It presents the menu again. As you can see, that's what it did right here. Presented a menu, right? So if they type exit right here, it'll run goodbye, lists. We just saw what that does. And if they don't type in a valid entry, guess what? It's gonna do, if they don't type in either list or exit, it's just gonna say please type a valid entry. You're stuck forever. Also, I downcased the input, so if they, because code's case sensitive. Or I believe that it's case sensitive here. So if they put like capital exit because they're proper, it's not gonna work and they're gonna be stuck and frustrated forever. So this is my goodbye message. Happy fishing. Give a man fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So yeah, this gem spec here and the dependencies. I actually looked at friends and this kind of like I didn't even know what to do initially, but now I understand. So I filled this out here. These dependencies are really important to tell the user what this gem depends on, what versions, and what specific Ruby gems it needs to run. And that's it. That is my thing. So once again, here it is. Run my folder. Run my file in my binary folder. Fishing report. Where are we right now? Where are we? We're right here. It's loading. This was scraping. It was taking a while. Boom. And it ran program interface. Code's right here. If I type list, it's going to run list fishing locations. Fishing report, list. Boom, there it is. There's the list view. And then 11. Run 11. I want to look at 11. Run 11. Right here. What did it do there? It asked for input. 11 got put in. Sorry. it returns fishing report, looks for the fishing location, .name, boom. I did that fishing report for Avalon, so we can say that. Yeah, keep it cool. And then it gives a fishing report. Boom. There it is. It slept 2 seconds and brought up the menu. I type exit. Where am I in the code? I go straight back up to here. Because it loops. And it's going to loop forever until I type exit. You're stuck in here. You can't go anywhere. Just kidding. So, yeah, let's. Oh, I typed exit here. Yeah. So, happy fishing. Give a man a fish, you feed him for a day. Teach a man to fish, you feed him for a lifetime. So that is my project. I hope you enjoyed and it was helpful in any way.